I think the main thing for us, to follow exactly what is happening is to stay at home. And while we are at home, it's very important to have a routine. Like we have a routine every single day, whether we're going to office or whether we're going to tennis court or whatever it may be. Even if I'm going for my match, I do have a routine of how I prepare, what time I eat. So I think it's very important to do that. Eat your meals also timely. Just because we're at home doesn't mean you shift or change everything. I have a fitness routine exactly every day at 5 o'clock, so I make sure I'm ready for that. I eat 2 hours before, even doing that exercise. So I try and maintain that, so that actually helps me to know what exactly every day I have in plan. Even though we don't know, it's very indefinite about when the ATP tour is going to start, or the AITA tournaments are going to start. Everybody is still under lockdown, and till this virus everything is cleared. It's good to have a basic routine, and that's what I've been really doing. And luckily here at home I have a wall to practice, and I've been doing some wall practice. And for some reason I just cannot beat this opponent. Years I had learned is how important a fitness trainer is, and doing the right kind of fit exercises for tennis specific training. And that I don't think when I started as a junior was even there. Not many trainers really knew about it. Unfortunately, we didn't have access to these kind of trainers. There were no video calls or WhatsApp calls or whatever back then to really talk to anybody. So I think that is where today the kids can benefit a lot. At my tennis academy, the Rohan Bopanna Tennis Academy in Bangalore, I specifically bought this gentleman called Chelsea Pinto, who's there in our academy, especially because he focuses all on strength work, agility, balance, which is very important for tennis. And over the years, traveling with the physio full time has actually enhanced my game to prolong it for this long in my career, I think. So those are the things I think we have to focus on. We constantly worry about whether the results or everything tennis related, but I think it's the movement is the main thing of tennis players we really need to focus on in today's generation. In India we are very talented in our hands, extremely gifted, but the movement is where we really lack. And I think the other key part is never to compare, I feel, our athletes to a Nadal or a Federer. We have to see what our strengths are and work on that. We cannot tell a kid, okay, this is how Rafa plays, you have to play like him. Unfortunately, we don't have that. Our abilities are different, and I think with those abilities, we need to really build their strength to make a champion out of from India. There are specific doubles kind of drills. I mean, the lot of double specialty movements are forward and backward, not so much lateral, because your transition is towards going towards the net and staying low at the net, doing a lot of squats in terms of making sure your legs are strong, because there's constantly you're playing the I formation or the Aussie formation, and then a lot of vertical jumps as well. I mean, these are few things we really need to focus on. And today, if you see in the ATP Tour also, I think a lot of the players are playing doubles. Not only because it enhances their game, but also right now with three players winning all the Grand Slams, rest are taking a chance to come and at least do well in the doubles. So doubles is getting extremely tough. It's tough to break through as well. I mean, there are a lot of, like you mentioned, a lot of the players from India trying to make that step, jump into that top 50, top 30, top 20 level. But having said that, the fitness still is a very, very high level of just because you're playing doubles and you're saying you're playing on the half court and you have somebody there, it doesn't mean you work less. I think you work equally to as much as somebody would play singles also. Yes, absolutely. I mean, but still, having said that, if you're there at Wimbledon, you don't know how long the match could go on.
Yes.
So it's always good to have a good endurance. There are certain days you end up playing 2 matches in a day in case it's raining. So you never know. So I mean, when you're young, you can do and work a lot of on your fitness definitely. And Yeah, of course there is. When you're getting older, you try and maintain your body and see what's best for you, and make sure you do the right stretches and the cooling down, which is the most important. I think today when I'm playing, making sure quality amount of time I spend on my training and tennis.
Okay.
Thank you for that. When I started off, I actually went for selection in Britannia Amrita Tennis Academy back then. Unfortunately, didn't get selected. I went again to few other academies, didn't get selected. Even in Pune to the Bhadra Tennis Center, they said yes. When I was in Pune, I could come and play there, but they will not give me a scholarship. I had to pay for everything and play. Then at that point in time, my dad said, at least you can get a chance to play with some good players. So he put me there. There were three coaches back then. One was Nandan Bal, one was Balachandran, who I think spoke yesterday to you all. One was Mr. Narendranath, who everybody known as Chubby.
Yes.
So I was there a good 5 years, and back then as a junior, my game wasn't great. I was still going like a journeyman, going every week, training, not knowing where the tennis was headed. My dad gave me a bicycle and he said, this is what your mode of transport was. And every day I had about 15 kilometers in Pune, just going to fitness, coming back, going to tennis, coming back. So after 4 years, then I just forced my dad to give me a motorcycle because I had enough of the riding the bicycle. And actually the tournament, the men's tournament you're talking about in Chennai, in West Nagar, actually came when I was 21.
Oh, okay.
So much later, past my juniors and everything. That is where I think I grew a lot bigger. I became a little stronger. Every time I was hitting the ball, it came with more velocity. So that helped in a way.
Yeah.
So I think by then I had moved to Bangalore. I was training with Mr. CGK Bhupati. And then that gave me a lot of confidence, after winning that, title in Besant Nagar. I hadn't beaten players, which I played there before. So suddenly this one tournament, I ended up beating everyone and beating Nitin Kirtan in the final of the tournament. And 2002, I got into the Davis Cup team. So I think juniors is a transition where you look into try and build your game and not really worry about the results. Because at the end of the day, it is the senior tour where you need to start, and the professional tour starts from there. So I think it's for the coaches, for anybody out there, to really focus on their fundamentals and to focus on their strength and movement at that point in time, because that is when you learn the best and the most of it.
Yeah.
And I think in Pune or before that, if I had somebody to really work on my movement, my singles would have definitely been a lot more higher, I feel.
Okay.
Because I know I had the game style to match up at the highest level, but sometimes I was late by half a step, by one step. So just to get to work on that tennis specific things is today, which is I think very, very important for us. But that's pretty much my juniors to my senior transition. The players of at a top level. So you're there when you're standing and hitting, but when I see them move, I know I cannot do that because I've never been taught that. So so that is something I think as a young player is what we need to focus on more. I had a lot of power in my strokes. And back then when I first learned tennis here in Coorg, my dad actually taught me the basics of tennis, and he just taught me one grip, was one shake hand grip, for all my strokes. So I used to hit it very flat. So it was tough for me to, the minute somebody said, try and make some balls, I just started pushing the balls. I was not being, hitting through the ball or, hitting. So then I think the best way I felt confident was when I swung through the ball and I hit it, more confidently. So I kept going at that style. Yes, I was very, very erratic as a junior. Even on my serve, I made a lot of double faults. I didn't really have a kick serve. Only when I went to Bangalore, Mr. CGK Bhupati worked a lot on my kick serve. I remember, him making me serve at least 200, 300 balls every single day. There has been a few times where I've framed the ball and it's gone way over the fence, not even anywhere close to the court. But having worked on it, even till today, I work on my serve. I keep telling the guys, do not work only on your weaknesses, work on your strengths as well. And today that second serve is one of my biggest strengths in my game.
Yeah.
It has helped me tremendously, especially today when I'm playing doubles, I can hit every spot on the court. It's only come because of the numerous of balls I've hit in practices. And I still keep hitting every single day. And every day after a practice, I make sure I serve. And that is something I want to keep. And that has really, really helped me in my game for so many years. I love to keep targets and constantly keep narrowing the target where I'm serving. And then I tell myself, okay, these are 10 balls. How many can I get close to the target or inside the court? And that's where I challenge myself constantly, to try and hit those spots. It's not just about hitting the wide serve or the T serve or the body serve. Constantly moving the targets, taking a few balls and seeing every single day how many I can hit.
Okay.
And that has actually helped me, develop my serve a lot more. Because once I remember, like I keep saying, today, yes, my serve is my strength. I went to Monte Carlo many years ago, thanks to Mr. Bob Brett, who was watching a Davis Cup tie in New Delhi. He was actually coaching Japan back then. And he watched me play against Nishikori. And he actually mentioned that to someone that if I would go there, he would help me in my game.
Okay.
So I ended up going there, to his academy, and he actually worked a little bit on my serve. He told me to bring my toss back towards my body, just a fraction to help me on my serve. Even though at that point in time, I felt like I was hitting my serve extremely well. That small change from somebody, who can see that is what is making a difference, for each player. So the idea is, wherever the players are, also to understand, and for the parents especially, if they are willing to put their kids with their coaches, trust the coaches. Let them coach your kid. Do not change every 1 month, 2 months to different centers. Because one of the biggest examples I tell them, you don't do that when they go to a school. You do not take them every month and put them in different schools. So it's very similar. So if you are putting a kid in an academy, trust the coach in that academy and let him at least be there minimum 6 months before you see if there's a change, or give the chance for a coach also to make that difference. And I think that is something which I love to tell all the parents all the time. The parents' support makes absolutely the biggest help for a kid. And when the parents are watching matches, do not coach from the stands, because the players who are playing, especially the juniors, they are fearing the parents, what they're going to say if they miss a ball, if they hit a double fault. Because the minute they hit a ball to the net, the first reaction is looking straight at the father or the mother. And as parents, if they have negative signs showing to the kid, he's already going to be fearing more, and his game is not going to be, he's going to find it much harder to play a match. So instead of that, if parents are constantly encouraging, and after the match, if the parents want to talk to them, let them ask open-ended questions where the kid can ask and answer back in a special way. Not just say, why did you serve in a double fault at this point? Or, in terms of say, how did you feel on the court? What was it difficult? What did the opponent do better? What you could have done better? So some open-ended questions where the kid is talking, and that will really help the kid next time he's playing a match. I think one thing I would love to tell a lot of the coaches who are here today and listening is that yes, we can take a kid to a certain level, and after that level, there is no problem if you are sending the kid to another academy to a better coach. You're only helping the kid develop his talents. Don't hold the kid in your academy only just because he is developed. Yes. There are over the years, even all of us out there, there's always better coaches at different levels, been at a different level. So look what is better for the kid and try and give him the best opportunity to be developing as a player. And I think that is where all of us have to come together and really help the sport and help the kids. I think you always learn something from each and every person.
Yeah.
And there is a journey, it's again one going back to the same example as the classroom. Yeah, I cannot take the same teacher or till all the way up to my university or my post-graduation. I cannot take, it's every class I go, there are different teachers at different levels teaching us various different things. So similarly in tennis, it is the same thing.
Totally.
The most important thing for me there was not only my dad, my mom as well. Both of them were a big support. So I think that is what made the difference. They were working as one team. If they said no together, they would say no. I mean, if they said no, they would say it together. If they said yes, they would say it together. So they made sure that their side, they always helped me in wherever I went. And they said, have short goals. I mean, I see in a question where it says, what your advice on to break mental blocks? Mm-hmm. And I say that is that to have short-term goals. Do not straight away look, okay, I'm going to be the national champion, I'm going to be the Grand Slam champion. It is about, let me try and become the best player in my academy. Then let me start becoming, slowly in the state. Let me do that. If I'm beating somebody 7-6, next time let me try and beat him 6-4 or 6-3. So in terms of you're building short-term goals, and I think that is where it makes a big difference. And I got the question, and I think Indian tennis coaching is at a very, very high level. We need to trust the coaches. That is what the main key is. Right now we have access, worldwide. We keep watching, but the knowledge we have here in India is very, very high. And as players, if we start trusting the coaches and always look to move up the ladder and go to a tennis center and go to make your game better, and that will really help. Like I said, earlier, that is something which is, and the movement is the number one thing we have to develop in India, and I don't see it at all. A lot of academies I've seen, it is not enforced as much. Tennis specific training, which is very, very important. And for parents also, they look at it and say, oh, okay, let him play more tennis. Fitness today don't want. I think the coaches, the parents, all, even though tennis is an individual sport, I think all of us have to come together. It's still a team sport when the player plays, whether it's parents, it's coaches, they all are together at the end of the day. Yeah. Even when Federer wins his Grand Slam, it's not just him, it is the entire team which is winning, because all of them are there who work in hours and hours and hours around the kid to build the kid where he is today or where that person is today. And that's something we have to learn from. And just having more tournaments in India, I think, will make a change eventually. I think that is something which will enhance players to constantly develop and get better from India. Example, what we take, if we look at cricket, it's such a great structure there, from the junior all the way to the senior. That's why we have so many. It's a similar example. If we have it in every sport, I think we'll just build more champions, because we have the talent. We have extremely wonderful kids, who wanting to learn tennis. Now I think it's up to all of us to really build a good system and a structure to, get tennis to the next level. I 100% believe we have everything here in India to build champions. We just have to guide them the right way. There was one day, I'll tell you a funny story. I was in Stuttgart. Sorry, I'm taking a couple of minutes there.
No.
I was in Stuttgart and I was practicing with Shapovalov, and there was Alex de Minaur, and there was one more Australian player. And suddenly I'm sitting there having water, and four of us on the court. And I'm telling myself, these guys are 19, 20 years younger than me. And I'm saying, what am I doing here? Am I doing something? Should I really be on the court with them? But now to watch these guys, firsthand, I've seen the way Denis Shapovalov moves on court. It is something else. I keep telling him, if I even tried that, I would probably break my ankle or break my knee, doing something like that. I think that is what he has learned it from such a young age. Mm-hmm. And that is, something which is wonderful.